All right, I think we're live, everybody. Hey, this is a travel update for Japan, April 2022. If there's technical difficulty because I'm doing this on OBS, I'll just do a mobile live stream and switch over to the smartphone. But I thought this would be a nice change up from what I've been showing you. Maybe the quality is a little bit better by doing it at home. So there's some good news. There's some optimism about travel returning to Japan very soon. Nothing solid yet. This is why I haven't been doing a lot of Japan travel updates since this pandemic started back in January of 2020. I've been doing updates, giving people kind of the lowdown what's going on here in Japan. And the last 2 years, over 2 years now, we've had so many challenges, setbacks. It's been kind of negative, right? Let's be honest about it. It's really sad for me here in Japan not to be able to see a lot of you, a lot of people coming to visit. It's really quiet out there. So, Roy on Instagram recently sent me something that was quite positive and something that didn't really register here in the news in Japan. It was news from Hawaii about Japanese coming to visit Hawaii to talk about restarting tourism. And this is a clue, like a nugget of something we can hold on to. And I want to share this with you right now. Let's see if I can get the window going here. Right here is the page in the article. Why isn't it showing up? That's weird. Anyways, I'll put the link in the description for you so you can check it out. But basically, Japanese government officials went over there to discuss whether or not the possibility of opening up was possible for summer 2022. When exactly that is, I'm not sure. And this is the big caveat. And one of the reasons I'm doing this travel update is to update you that there's really nothing solid yet. Although we do see a lot of positivity in the fact that students and spouses of people living here in Japan are starting to get those visas. This is a really positive development because it's been for years almost no access to enter into the country. So I think that this is one step towards tourism returning. But apart from this nugget from Hawaii, which I will put a link in the description, so you should check this out. It's kind of a positive news. There's not a lot to report. The only thing that I can tell you that is worrying about this possible opening in summer 2022, and I think it was Peso who was a little skeptical yesterday, and I'm going to take some of your questions in a second, is the resurgence of the new strain here in Japan. The numbers are actually starting to increase. And it could be because school has been out for spring, so a lot of students have been mingling. No social distancing was going on. You go outside, you kind of like, yeah, you see these hordes of kids all together, and you know, like, if one has them, they probably all have it. And that's been going on. And now the kids are going back to school. The new year starts in April, so maybe we'll start to see a decline in the numbers. This all has a major impact on whether or not Japan is going to reopen. But once they reopen, I'm thinking they're not going to close it again suddenly. They want a situation where they can just leave it open. And I know that Australia has opened up, and I know that Singapore has, and some other countries have. Japan has decreased the quarantine, which is really a positive thing. It used to be 14 days just a couple of months ago. When we came back, we would have to stay for 14 days. And if we tested negative within a certain amount of days, we'd be allowed out. I think it was 10 days. I know Greg, Life Where I'm From, visited from Canada to film a couple of really great episodes, if you haven't checked it out, on the snowiest city in the world up in Almaty. So he had to stay in a hotel in quarantine for a certain, I think it was 3 days, and then home quarantine for 2 weeks before he could go out and film. That's changed now, and I believe it's just 3 days, and if you test negative, then you're allowed to, take public transportation and assimilate into life. The thing is, all this information is changing so quickly over time. I want to see if maybe this page will come up. Let me share it with you on. This is the Ministry. Okay, there it is. Great. This is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This is the authority on what is happening here in Japan. If you want to know, I'm shrinking the window here. If you want to know where I get my information, it's from here, which is the source of everything. There you go. Nice and pretty window. If you look on this website, you'll get everything that you need, all the documents that you would need to get your visa, all of the entry procedures, the quarantine rules, and they're changing so rapidly. I would bookmark this page and get it right from the source. Never mind what all the YouTubers are saying. Check out what the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is saying, because they're in charge of immigration. I'll take your questions in a second. Just give me 1 moment here. I'm going to go through this a little bit with you. There it is, the visa application documents for downloading, the announcements. Now this is where you get all the latest stuff. Now there's even the applications for visas for eligible. Okay, so the consul service. So it was last updated February 24th, 2022. And there's another one here, new measure borders. I haven't actually seen this. All right, so they're constantly being updated here. So we're seeing that Japan is gradually starting to open, and we're getting trickle of information. I get a lot of my news from Kyoto News, which is right here. And they basically translate a lot of the stuff that's in Japanese news and make it into nuggets that are relevant to what you probably want to know about what's happening here in Japan. So this is a reason why I don't need to do a news program on Only in Japan Go. It's like, it's all here. So I can't recreate the wheel. You just check out Kyoto News, which has been an amazing source of information. So let me go to your questions here, but basically there's no real change in the travel situation. So if you're thinking about booking your trip to come to Japan, maybe July, maybe August. But the thing is, my feeling is that it's probably going to be through package tourism at first, because my gut, and this is all assumption, all right? This is all we have to go on, is that Japan wants to be able to hold a group accountable. So if the situation does turn and something happens, it'll be companies being able to get in touch with the people on their packages, and they'll be able to get them out of Japan and be more accountable. Because if people start coming here on their own, it's very hard for them to be to get in touch with those people unless there's some app they make you install. I don't know, but it doesn't seem like we're going to be completely out of the woods until 2023, where it's just like free. Because Japan is the oldest country in the world, the population is the oldest, they also feel that there's the greatest risk. As a result of that old population, the leadership is also old school. So they do things in the old way, which is probably fax machines and phone calls. So information really doesn't get moved through Japan quickly like they do, like it does in the West. That's a good thing sometimes, and it's a bad thing more often to me as a non-Japanese than it is to my wife who is Japanese, because Japanese like the way things work in Japan. You can't argue with that because Japan is Japan. They have their own way, as we're learning through international news. Every country has their own way to deal with things, and this is Japan's way to deal with the pandemic, whether you agree with it or not. And I don't agree with it, but it is the rules, and I do follow them, like wearing a mask in public. Let me get to some of the questions that you had on the last video that I asked you about. If you have any questions, leave them on the video, and I will get to them. I said that, so I have to go through them. Did anyone hear a scream? What? Question. This is A laugh MLMAO. Okay. My friends and I are wanting to visit Tokyo in late November and the start of the new World Cup. Are there any events, watch parties for Japan national team during the match? There were for the World Cup when I was here in 2002, 20 years ago. There were watch parties all over the place. I was in Toyohashi, which had a very vibrant Brazilian population working in the factories in Aichi Prefecture. And the watch parties were awesome. But I don't know if there's any dedicated watch parties. I know that most of the bars that have watch parties will have the World Cup on, but probably dedicated to just Japan, unless there's like a really big game between, top teams. But I don't think that because this is not taking place in Japan, it's going to be such a big, a lot of parties. And it's too early to tell right now because the pandemic is still, according to Japan, still going on, and the state of emergency was just lifted a couple of weeks ago. I don't think they're really thinking about that yet, but it's a good question. Planning to be in Tokyo and Hokkaido in August, knock on wood. I have wood right here. My spouse is Japanese national, so I'm staying positive. I'm guessing that there's going to be a way for you to get here in August. Whether or not it's going to be easy, I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of jumping through hoops. That's just my feeling. It's going to be a lot of jumping through hoops. But I would say book the ticket and make sure that it's cancelable. ANA has been pretty good with that. We were thinking of going to the U.S. They understood the situation. They allowed us to cancel and returned our money pretty quickly. So I'm pretty happy with ANA. I don't know any of the other airlines. I would not travel on any of the other airlines. I would pay an extra $100 or more to travel ANA just because it's so much better. I have more peace of mind. I know I'm going to get my luggage, etc. And I know they're going to take care of me on both sides. It's just the service is just second to none with ANA compared to the U.S. carriers. Not that there's anything wrong with that. A family friend's restaurant, Grill Chateau, used to be in that building. Okay, I'm going to look for the questions specifically. Ben writes in here, thanks for helping the community and answering questions on traveling to Japan. You're welcome, Ben. Could you tell us how contact tracing is done in Tokyo? Is there an app? And as a tourist, do you see details? All right, so there is an app, and let me see here. It does actually notify me if I'm in close contact with somebody who, here it is. It's active too. Can you see that there? So it's a government app that allows me to check close contacts, and right now I don't have any close contacts. So the app actually, it has to make sure that it's on. But if somebody does report, I believe it's based on self-reporting, and maybe the government, I'm not sure of the background, but I use this app and the government requires people to install this app, I believe, if they're quarantining too. It also has a place where you can register the positive results. I don't know if you can download this unless you're living here in Japan. Yeah. Ross writes in here that ANA gave a full refund. They're really good. They're really good. See here. A seventh wave will happen in Japan soon. I don't know if there's a seventh wave, but I think that the sixth wave went up really fast, and it's kind of coming down slowly, but it's sort of staying the same right now, which is worrying. But the state of emergency is not coming back, I don't believe, and Japan is learning how to live with it because the booster shots have been out. Anybody who wants one can get one really easily. And I'm stuttering because there's a slight delay, just the slightest, that throws you off your game like a curveball. But I got my booster shot pretty quick. Kanai has her booster shot. They're already talking about a fourth booster shot, so Japan is a lot more proactive than they were with this. And I think it's the realization that Japan has to learn to live with this is now sinking in. But they want to get through this wave first, which is why they're starting to talk about it, because to get the momentum going, Japan's not ready for tourism. I'll be honest with you right now. If tourism started, they're not ready. a lot of the hotels, they're just not there yet. It's going to take a little bit of momentum. Some of the attractions, they're still closed. There's a lot of places that closed down because they went bankrupt, or they closed because there were not a lot of people to take advantage of those attractions. So to restart that, Japan, the government needs to signal to them that they are seriously considering opening, which means that I think we're going to get that signal too, because you need to book flights. You need to know how the procedures work. Japan needs to make that signal, and I'm guessing in a matter of weeks we're going to get a signal, especially to the businesses, because again, they can't just quickly start to do this. It's going to have to take some time, or else it's going to be chaos. And Japan is usually a well thought out and planned country. In my experience, they do things fairly well. That's irritating to us sometimes because there are a lot of rules and stuff, hoops to jump through. I see that the chat is going. I'm going to go to the chat in about a minute or so, so just hold off on your questions for the chat for a second. Erdogan, the Cocoa Tracker app is available on USA Google Play Store. Great. I think it's on iOS as well, the Apple App Store. I think they might want you to install that before you come. And by the way, the vibes that I'm getting is that you might be asked for a vaccine passport. I don't know if it's something they ask for now, but it's very helpful. And if you need proof of vaccination, this could limit your quarantine time and save you a lot of money and time in a hotel. So if you are vaccinated, try to find a way to get proof. If you don't have a vaccine passport, make sure you come with the official documents to show that you've been vaccinated. Japan loves paperwork. So if you have paperwork, a doctor's... Like I always told my brother who is diabetic to bring doctor's notes for the insulin, because if you have proof, just in case they stop you, you have documentation. So always have that for something that might be questionable. Even though you don't need it for your own country, it really smooth things over. If you get like one guy who's a pain in the neck, I got documentation, lets him off the hook. It's something to think about with Japan. Paperwork, they love it here. It's like, eliminate paper? No way. They love that here. More documents, more signatures. You can just make stuff up. I didn't say that. Just like if you just have paperwork, it just looks more official, like you did your homework. Does JR or the other line still offer special day passes? Japan Rail, actually, they have a lot more passes than the Japan Rail Pass, which is the one that allows you access to the entire country. If you're just thinking of going to Tohoku, which I encourage everybody to do, you can get the pass in Japan very easily with a non-Japanese passport. Even if you're a resident of Japan and you've got a foreign passport, you can get these passes. The Japan Rail Pass is only for tourists, but foreign residents living in Japan can get these JR passes, which is pretty awesome. I've been using the JR Tohoku Pass, and there's one also for Nagano and Niigata, which is available to residents. So I believe you might even be able to get the one down in Kyushu, and there's a Kansai Pass. So JR is recognizing that foreign nationals living in Japan should have access to these passes. So you can get these a lot more easily than you used to a few years ago here in Japan. You just need your passport. I'll put a link in the description and you can check out to see some of the pass options. But as an advocate for JR East, I love them. They give me access and grant me permission to film in certain places that are very restricted. I know that this pass is something that they hope encourages more tourism to the regions in Tohoku, which are particularly impacted, especially because of the earthquake and tsunami 10 years ago. They're still in reconstruction mode. Thanks for asking about that. Marigan writes in here, I'm going to miss Tokyo Eye. I started watching on 2014. Last year it was Kawaii International. Some of the other shows suddenly disappeared. J Trip Planner and Launch On. This is true. Japan... Nani? Oh, Leo just woke up. So April 1st starts the new year in Japan. That means new TV shows on NHK, they end the things at the end of March and they start anew in April. And my show that I've been on since 2008, which is like 14 years, which is crazy, ended in March 20, ended last month. And I was on one of the last episodes to say goodbye, to present Akihabara. You can see this on NHK World Video on Demand, which is kind of a neat episode. And I think you can see only in Japan Go. This channel is on the NHK. I showed you the inside of Akihabara's Sega World before they closed that down and changed it to Gigo. And they put that on the show, which was pretty cool. But I'm Tokyo Eye finished. So hopefully my connections at NHK World, a lot of the producers and directors know me quite well and can rely on me. I'll be able to jump on another show reporting about the great things of Tokyo once again. Because when you make friends with some of the producers and directors at any channel, often they go to people that they can trust for new shows to help launch it. And I'm always happy to be a part of it. It was always such an honor to be on Tokyo Eye. I think I did 50 episodes for them, which is crazy over the years, but it's always an honor. When they bring you back on, that means you did a pretty good job. If you didn't do a good job, they don't call you again. So it's such a huge honor. Jane, thanks for asking about that. I hope that you are not John Dobb from somewhere else in the Marvel universe. I don't know even what that means. Do you think the reopening of tourists will have to wait until after the next Japanese election in late July? I'm not sure. I think there is a growing sense among the Japanese population that the economy is doing bad. Inflation we're starting to see that. And Japan, I believe, is going to want to do everything it can to shore up more dollars, more money. And the tourism industry is one of those things that has been dragging down the economy because it was built up for it. People had created jobs based on it, and a lot of that has been lost. So to restart that might be one way for Prime Minister Kishida to shore up support and show that the economy is coming back on. I'm not really sure, but there's a lot of really good politicians that are more proactive with starting up tourism than Prime Minister Kishida, who is doing the best job he can do. I honestly believe that. I do believe that summer Japan's going to open up. I'm a very optimistic person. This is I believe. Please put in asterisks. I believe, because they have to. If other countries are opening up, they're going to have to show signs, and I think that you're going to get those nuggets of information in the next couple of weeks. Is it illegal to remove trees like that? So yesterday I showed Sakura Dori, which is building a new high-rise apartment on Sakura Street. They removed a lot of the cherry blossom trees, the Someyoshinos that were quite old. It's not against the law to cut down a tree. You just have to have permission of the city to do something like that, and I believe they got the permits because that's a famous cherry blossom street. I bet you they replant them when the building is finished construction, just because it's ridiculous to have a Sakura Dori without sakura trees. And no, the cherry blossom trees do not have fruit on them. I get that question a lot. It's a sakura tree, and in English we call them cherry blossoms, but a sakura is cherry blossom in English, so it's not actually a cherry. It's cherry blossom. You get it, most of you. John, is it open already to visit? If you're a resident or working here or a student with a visa, you can come into Japan. Jetstar Australia is selling flights to Osaka from June. Follow the airlines. This is from Brett Taylor. Follow the airlines and you will start to get inside information because they're in close contact with the government. They're the ones who profit off of this, and they are the ones who want you to come. If you do get a ticket with Jetstar, make sure that it's refundable, or make sure you pay a little bit more to get that refundable option. Peace of mind, because Japan will say one thing, but they're very set on how the people think, and people are very risk averse and scared. So if a new variant comes, be prepared to wait a little bit longer. But it looks like we are, of course, closer to the end than we are the beginning. All right. I hope it doesn't endanger the sakura trees. I hope so too, Rose. What Okay, a lot of questions here. I'm hoping to visit Japan in the autumn. This is from Joe Talent. If things go well, do you think there will be a chance that rules will change about wearing masks outdoors? There's no actual rule to wear a mask, but I know this is one of the reasons why Japan is a little hesitant to open up to foreign tourism. One of the reasons why Japan has not 100,000, people a day getting sick, why they have like millions getting sick is because people wear masks. And when in Rome, do as the Romans. When in Japan, do as the Japanese. There's no actual law, but society means that you should be thinking about the other people around you. So just because, you don't have to wear a mask in your country doesn't mean that you shouldn't be wearing one in Japan. I do. I wear flimsy something that probably doesn't offer a lot of protection, but it makes people feel at ease, societal rules type of thing. All right? So I want you to really, when you come to Japan, you are a guest, but you really should be thinking about the Japanese people and their feelings. And you as a guest would do the same if you go into somebody's household. And they're thinking about you too. But in crowded places, on public transportation, in crowded areas, you should be wearing a mask. And I saw on late night TV, when you go into an audience on, all of the late night shows, the audience is all wearing masks. So yeah, maybe not on a flight, but in Japan on public transportation, nearly 99% is wearing masks. And when you don't wear a mask, Japanese people take note of that and they group you in with all foreigners. And that hurts me as someone who lives here. So that's why I want to make sure you understand this. Walter Street writes in here, do you think that my wife and I can somewhat plan for traveling to Japan in January, February 2023, late honeymoon? Yes. I'm going to just go out on a limb and say, this could change, but it seems like 2023 is going to be fine. I bet you once they open up the border, it's a question of just living with it. So thanks for asking that. Mohammed, thanks for being a member. And Chan writes in here, hi, Leo. Leo is trying to say hi behind you. And this is the way Leo is saying hi. He really is. Yeah, this is, that's his way. I think when he wakes up, he gets a little cranky, but he wakes up and he's smiling and having fun. I think he wants to play with these daimyo packages. See, I've been trying for the longest time to send packages to even the United States. And today is the day right after this. I take these larger boxes to the post office to send to you, so the supporters are getting these. Leo wants to probably play with the boxes. I'm not going to let him slobber on them for your sake, those that are daimyo supporters on Patreon. I believe that autumn is going to be fine. Look, I really can't say for sure because there's no definitive news, but 3 things. Bookmark the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and check often. Number 2, follow the airlines and check and call them often. Number 3, if you need a visa, call the consulate. Shawshank Redemption that, all right? They'll tell you to stop calling. Just call once a week. It's up to you to get the most up-to-date information, all right? And you want to be first in line. I want you to be first in line. So if you can get that information before somebody posts it on Twitter, then you'll be able to get in line first. I don't even know how long that line is, but in Japan, we love to wait in lines. It's insane. James writes in here, hopefully going back to Japan this September, but I suppose we will see. I'm planning to go to Kyoto for half my trip. Is it worth to get the JR Rail Pass? Yes. I think first you need to sort of map out what you want to accomplish when you get here. What do you want to see and do? Do you really want to travel around a lot? The Rail Pass pays off if you're going to be making 2 or 3 trips, long distances in Japan. Then if you do the math, it'll work out. But if you're not, consider just flying. Again, we have budget airlines like Peach Aviation. We have Jetstar. We have Skymark that are really cheap. And in fact, if you book in advance, you can get a domestic flight for under $100 going from place to place. And it's so much faster because it's 7 hours to get to Fukuoka by Shinkansen, or like 75 minutes on a flight, which is like half a day, really. So you want to think about these things. Sometimes it's better to fly. Sometimes it's better to get the rail pass. And consider the regional rail passes, not just the all-encompassing Japan rail pass. Maybe it makes more sense to get a regional pass for 1 week and just get the Japan rail pass for 1 week. You can maybe save some money that way. So it just depends on what you want to accomplish on a trip here. Thanks, James. Sarah writes in here, "Hi, John. Thank you so much for the videos. Just been following you since the start of the pandemic, and my sister moved to Japan. I saw a few questions about visiting family already. As a foreigner, how will it affect being able to visit family? If you have family in Japan, contact the consulate about visiting them. Sometimes, based on the rules, I'm hearing that if you are directly related to a family member, that means your family member can take responsibility for you. You're not really a tourist in a traditional sense. You're visiting family. And there's cases where you can visit, like, I would hope that my mother and father would be able to visit me because of Leo is here and have a special circumstances to get a visa because we have Japanese family here. So maybe it goes with foreign nationals living there. I don't know, but it's worth contacting the consulate and embassies to see if you can possibly get an exception if you have somebody in Japan who might vouch for you on this side. I don't know. Again, the policies are changing so quickly, Sarah, but it would be something to look into for sure. Yeah, I hate when people remove trees, though. I get a little upset. Unless they plant new ones, but even then. These trees have seen a lot, even though they don't have eyes. Actual New Year or just a start? It's not an actual New Year, but it feels like everything starts April 1st in Japan. It feels like that's the start of everything. So more so than in the West. Like school starts April 1st, whereas it starts in September 1st in the US, right? In September. Let's see here. This is Way Farmed. Do you expect inflation to affect the prices for tourists? You know what? All right. Right now, if you are living in the US, you have a bargain in Japan. The inflation has not gone up to the same rate as it has in the US, but the exchange rate has. In fact, you can get, I think it's 20% cheaper now than it was 2 years ago. All right. I think it was like 105 to the dollar. It's now like 124 to the dollar. 124 yen to $1. So if you're changing $100, you get 12,400 yen. 2 years ago, if you change $100, you got 10,400 yen. So you're getting an extra $20 for every $100 you exchange. So that's a good thing. So if this favorable exchange rate continues into the summer, you're going to get a 20% discount. Granted, the prices might increase slightly, but inflation in Japan has been historically low to deflation. So we will see. But I'm starting to see prices on everything rise here in Japan, but it's not on the same scale. Unlike the United States, Japan is still importing Russian gas. So, I mean, just to give you an indication, they're not really on board with all of this yet. But, the pressure is there. Question here. When coming to Japan, how and who do check about medication you need to bring? Coming to Japan, I don't know. I think the medication that you need to bring, but if you need to get medication and you get sick when you're here, you're going to have to visit a doctor. So bring your insurance card because you're going to have to get that taken care of. I think we got a guest. Just curious how travel between Okinawa and Japan. As I recall, Okinawa was a vacation destination there. I guess he's got his Ampaman vehicle that I bought him for birthday. Okinawa is open. It's part of Japan. It's not another country. And Okinawa, there's flights all over the place. They had a state of emergency, but it's now not a problem. He hates it at first, and then he loves it. So, no problem on visiting Okinawa at all. I recommend that you do. The president of the Japan National Tourism Organization in Australia stated this a few weeks ago. Talk he gave. This comes from Dr. Debo, and this is a quote: "The border is opening step by step, with business travelers and international students currently able to enter. So we know consumer travel is the next logical step," said Tanaka. "We cannot wait to welcome Australians back to Japan, and now is the time to start planning a trip." This comes from JNTO's president in Australia just a couple of weeks ago. And this isn't getting to the United States. This is local regional news. So this is the way Japan operates. I'm so excited to get this comment. You will get nuggets of information. And maybe another YouTuber reported on this. I don't know. But JNTO, like, Australia has a better situation than I believe the United States does with COVID. And they're coming out into the summer, so I think things will be getting better. Look, they're going to probably target certain countries that have more situations that are in better shape. That's logical, right? And then you're going to get nuggets like this where they go to Hawaii and start to tell people to start to plan, because it's going to be a momentum thing. And I think it's time to really start to consider planning where you want to go, what reservations you want to make, and maybe making the reservations without booking a credit card, leaving your credit card with them, and making sure that you have the ability to change it. Chan writes in here, "No pressure, but could we have a few minutes with Leo?" Well, give him a second. Let's get through some of these questions. Just a couple more questions, and then we'll end with a little Leo action. Chan, thank you. Just last week, Brunei announced that Japan is listed as a green lane travel. So I guess that it is also part of a sign that's opening up. We're getting these nuggets. This is one more right here. "Can anyone motivate me again to immigrate to Japan? I just lost it." A lot of people have that feeling too. And a lot of people have been waiting too long. Look, I think once Japan opens, people are going to remember again. But until they open, you're in the doldrums, right? And the doldrums are, what is that area in the Pacific where no wind is, and you just like sitting in the Pacific in still air. It's awful. The doldrums is not a place you want to be. But once they open the gate and travel returns and everybody's been vaccinated and boosted and the rules are clear, you're going to want to come back here. You're just going to want to be back here. Yeah. Been two times on this day in Japan, 2016, 2019, and both were great. And I hope that you can come back again soon. What is the general attitude towards foreign students who come to study in Japan? It's neither positive nor negative. I don't think that normal, everyday Japanese really care. We have foreign residents that have been living here the whole time. YouTubers that have been here making YouTube content. My friends are appearing on Japanese TV all the time. I have several friends that are celebrities on Japanese TV that you see them on big shows. So it's not like Japan has been like not used to any foreigners or anything like that. So if you're a student coming here, you're a student coming here. It's not a negative or a positive thing. You're going to be welcomed, I believe, because people will see that as a sign that things are getting better. And really, if you can get in here, I have not heard any bad stories at all. So don't surprise me. Lived here for almost half a decade. Okay. Japan is great about changing and keeping things the same. It's one of the things that makes it great. So there's things that you love with the lack of change, and there's things that you don't love. So sometimes when Japan, keeps things the way it does, there's a positive thing to that. It's just Japan has its own way to do things, and you have to think about that, how it's different than your country, and it is. Japan is very different than the United States. It's older. It's, the system just works differently. The prime minister isn't elected directly by the people, right? It's more of a UK system where leaders will elect. It's just different. So you can't really fault Japan for being Japan. They're going to be Japan. You know that. I don't have to say that. All right, one more before we cut this off here. I'll try my best to answer this. Is there a pre-spec for that door may open through Hawaii first? I'm not sure, but as soon as we can go to Hawaii, we'll probably start to book a trip to Hawaii. All right, because I've been wanting to go there to visit a lot of you for the longest time. Let's see here. Can you recommend any good touring company to use when coming from Japan? Well, I don't really know. I think go to check the reviews, first of all. The reviews are usually a telling sign. If there's a lot of reviews, that means that it's been true and tested. JTB, HIS are two big Japanese tourism companies. They have offices in the United States and around the world. And booking a tour with them, probably they have the latest information and more connected with the government because they're sort of like government agencies in a way. Like, I don't know. They seem like they're really connected. So maybe going through them might be a safer option. Especially if you want to get into Japan really quickly. Probably go with a Japanese company. I don't know. But there might be more. Look, this is another thing I want to tell you. You get what you pay for. This is a Japanese way. You don't get bad service if you pay more. You get improved services. It might not be like more often than not. You get what you pay for. You pay for a cheap flight. You're gonna get a cheap flight. You're gonna get cheap service. You're gonna have the possibility of a worse situation. So when you upgrade a little bit, it gives you the protection because if a place is very famous for having good service, you can count on that reputation to follow through. Like, Apple does not have a really good reputation with customer service, which is why I never got my iPhone that was stolen, right? It's unresolved. So they have not the best reputation with their online store. But if you go in person, they have a good reputation of buying it there. So the online store is a reputation for Apple. Do not buy stuff from, especially an iPhone, from Apple directly online. Don't do it. Because there's no insurance. If you don't receive it, you can't use Apple Care. So you can't get it replaced. It's true. Don't use Apple's online to buy products if you can help it. Have it sent to the Apple store, because if it's lost in delivery, there's no way to get that insured unless you've purchased insurance in advance. It's in the fine print. It's awful. Gumbo writes in here, John, do you think that there is a portion of the Japanese population that is hesitant or nervous about letting in tourists again? Absolutely. Absolutely. Pre-pandemic, there was definitely an issue with over-tourism. There was. I think that's pretty much gone away, but there's always going to be a percentage of people that are worried about it. They don't understand. They think that it might be spread by foreign nationals. But, Gumbu, how can you blame them? When everybody in Japan is wearing a mask, everybody in Japan is following these societal rules that we all know here because we live here. And foreigners say, well, masks are stupid. I'm not going to wear it. Can you blame them for grouping all foreigners into this thing? I can't really. I think that that might be one thing that makes people upset, but it doesn't make people angry like you would think, right? They just get disappointed. Sonia writes in here, is there a reason why California is last to enter? Probably because, all right, Japan, all right, I don't know, how do I place this? Japan looks at the data of the states, this is a U.S. thing, U.S.-Japan thing, and has relationships with the states, not just with the country. So, for example, for driver's license, for some strange, odd reason, 2 states don't need to take the exam if you're changing your license from U.S. to Japan. Maryland and Washington State. And there might be more that have been added in the last few years. I don't know. Maryland and Washington State. Why? Because Maryland and Washington State have very good driver records, meaning very few accidents based on per capita, like the density of population. So Japan takes that as they're good drivers, so when they come to Japan, they don't need to take the driving test. It's fair? No. We call them the blessed. So California is not one of the blessed. What can I say? There's no real reason for it. And I look at why some countries, for example, you could fly in through JFK and they would group you in being in New York, even though you were perhaps driving to Pennsylvania where your family lives and staying there, which is not, it doesn't make any sense because they use the airport you departed from as the amount of time you had to quarantine, even though you lived in the countryside of another state, which had no quarantining. So Japan has their own way to do things, and it doesn't make a lot of sense, but you don't argue either because it's futile. All right? You can't argue and win about rules that make no sense. All you can do is be positive, and maybe they feel guilty and they do something to maybe make your pain less by being. Once you get angry, it's over. And I get angry, and I know it's over. So never get angry. I hope this winter I can go, writes in Sophia. I hope so too. Let's see here. John, do you think the average Japanese citizen, this is from Charles $, the average Japanese citizen is happy that there are no international tourists right now? Do they even want us back? They don't mind. If the government opens the border, then it's open. And you don't have to worry about people, like with, machetes or something coming. Yeah. Guests are guests. And especially if you're in the tourism industry, you're not going out to the middle of nowhere and walking around. And even if you did, people are going to be curious. I was in the middle of nowhere in Kochi Prefecture in Shikoku, this small town, and nobody was wearing masks. They didn't even really understand the pandemic. They hardly saw outsiders. And when I was walking around wearing a mask, they looked at me as I was weird. Not because I was a foreigner, but because I was wearing a mask. This is like a town that, population like 600. So, like, you're not going out to there. But if you're in the middle of the city, nobody cares. It's a city. Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto. It's fine. Especially if you're staying in a hotel and you're in a tourism infrastructure. You're going to attractions. Nobody really minds that much. Tokyo Paul Live writes in here, I hope you and your family stay warm and dry. Thank you. It's been a wet one for the last couple of days. The cherry blossoms, some of them are hanging on, but it looks like this was the last day. It's kind of chilly too, but it'll get warmer pretty quick. PVG will be beyond in a couple of days, and he just released a new video about the Tokyo Motor Show. You have to check that out in his own way. He sees the world through the prism of motorcycles and ladies, so it might be interesting to some of you and not to some of you, but it's usually pretty interesting stuff. This is tough. Dawn writes in here, we have had to cancel our holiday to Japan for the whole of April. We've had to book flights for September, so I hope. Leo, want to say hello? Hello, Leo, look, you can see you. All right, just for a second here. Chan, there you go, here's your moment. He's wearing his Totoro. He's wearing his Totoro bib. Leo, you're making it all out of a focus. Say, focus, camera. Focus. Leo, focus on Leo. Okay, no. He's such a... What's he got? Oh, that's his lotion.
Yeah, hand clean.
Yeah. How is... What? That's the microphone. Oh, gosh. What's that shampoo? I want that shampoo. All right, there you go. Chan, are you happy? Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, we get one more question. It's like, God. That's also a sign that I probably have to start to go and finish up this edit here. Dawn, it's really tough that you've had to cancel. A lot of you have had to cancel your trips, and I don't know. I think summer is going to be good, but just keep your ear to the ground and listen to MOFA. Listen to, check out the news once a week of Kyoto news, or daily, maybe. Thank you, Sophia. Leo gets all these super chats. I don't get any. I do. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, check Kyoto News. If you're really interested, check daily if you want. It's like reading the newspaper, and they're very good at updating not just the pandemic information, but also the situation going on in Japan. And if you want to see if there's... they've also been posting quite a bit about students coming to Japan back here. So you want to keep your eye on that, as well as the MOFA, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and some of the other news. Asahi Shimbun also has a really good no, is that Himeji Castle? So you can see the news here. Japan aims to accelerate vaccine research. Japan is seeing a rebound. Japan, you can get all the news. Japan raises its limit for entrance from overseas from 10 up to 10,000 from April 10th. So you're getting all this information from this news source, and it's reputable. So I would recommend bookmarking them. And then the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which I am looking at all the time because that is the definitive source. They're the definitive source. And then, your local JNTO might have something to add. There you go. Officials eye summer for travel to Japan to resume. JNTO went to the Hawaii Tourism Japan recently to talk about tourism returning. So that's out there. That's a thing. That's good news. All right, I'm going to turn now to the chat here, which I haven't been doing. I've been on looking at here. GT Staff Zero, would you enter M1 with PVG? Do good as Banana Man? I don't think so. First of all, I would never go up against PVG. I have in the past. It never went well, except pull-ups. I could do more pull-ups than him, but he says I cheat with that, so I don't get it. You can't win. All right, let's look at the chat here. If you have any questions, I'm now looking at the video chat, so please ask away. And for the next couple of minutes, I'm happy to answer anything here. And anything on Twitter. If you follow me on Twitter, Ask Only in Japan, I'll go in and answer anything that you ask me there right after this. Red Syrup writes, don't read this. Oh. I believe some credit expires after 10 years on Suica cards. That's a good question. I haven't had anything expire for me yet, but it's possible that, I don't think has Suica been around for 10 years? I think it has. Yeah. Do you think about going in October? Hold on a second. I'll push pause on there. Yeah, October should be safe. Again, you gotta take everything with a grain of salt. But I would say, based on what we're hearing by JNTO going to Australia and Hawaii, book and make sure that you can cancel. And maybe even have a backup plan, like book a trip to France or Singapore or Australia as a backup if you can. I don't know. Do you happen to know how Airbnb owners are doing? Not good. A lot of them are gone. So prices have gone up a little bit. I think Leo might come back. What are those boxes behind you? These are the Daimyo packages for my Patreon supporters. It's been a couple of months since I sent a package, so I have a super box with 25 items or something. I forget how many I put in there, but I'm sending these right after the live stream ends, so they're on the way, sort of. It took a long time to make those boxes. That's maybe one reason why the video is a little bit delayed on the monkey, Nagano monkey video, which is slightly delayed. You gotta do this first. Icon writes in here, the Cherry Blossom streams by both you and Peter and the subsequent rain convinced my wife. Leo!
Yeah, Leo wanna
oh my gosh, she's so heavy. All right, Leo, you want to read the questions? You have to stand up because you're not on camera. All right. Can you read this by Icon? My wife may need to make sure we spend enough time. Let's see here. Want to see Formula One? I'm looking at questions here. Zuna writes in here, Kansas and North Carolina for the national championship. Kansas, maybe. North Carolina, no. That's a hard one. If it's not the Buckeyes, I don't know. He's gonna completely open up all this stuff in my desk. I know, it's a tough one. Maybe I'll go Kansas because it's Midwest. Let's see here. Questions. We're planning a trip for next year. Is June really super hot? That's a great question. June, bring a light jacket. I'm saying that because it's the rainy season, and the rain makes it feel a lot cooler than it is. But the humidity is starting to increase. The first 2 weeks of June, a little chilly. The second 2 weeks of June, probably a windbreaker. But the humidity doesn't start to come until かなり多分ちょっと危ない a little bit dangerous. I thought this was a paper crane, but it's a piece of trash. They're like, Leo, did you make a paper crane? June is a little bit chilly. It can be because of the rain. Hokkaido doesn't have a rainy season at June. So if it's raining too much for you in Tokyo when you're here, you can escape the rain by going up to Hokkaido. They're not in the monsoon rains. All right, 2 more questions here. It was crazy. When does Leo make a cameo? Christian, I don't really want him to be in a lot of videos, to be honest with you. I want him to be able to make his own life, right? So if Leo wants to be in the videos, he can be in it, but I'm not going to make that the focus. I do know, like, he gets a lot more super chats than I do, and, and we're putting that towards his college fund. Trust me, he has his own bank account now. we're putting, Leo, somebody gave you $100 last week. We put $100 in his bank account. So, thank you. But I don't know. He's not really a focus. But if something that he does is Japan-based and it's interesting, I think I'll cover it. But the main channel is really on stories. I understand why some YouTube creators might use their family because that's a part of who they are. I can't fault them for that. But my style is, I really want to focus on those stories. But he's so cute and he's part of who I am. You're gonna see him just because he's a part of who I am. My family is my family. And, when I look at my friends in the U.S. that are also YouTubers, you can't really separate your family. It's hard. Trevor, Ting is in the Food Ranger. You'll see her in the videos. What's Inside, Dan and Lincoln, it's a family. So I respect the people who really open up, but don't force it down your throats. So I'm not going to have like a Leo show, okay? Tell Leo to invest in Bitcoin. Mike, it's kind of expensive. I don't know. Leo, invest in Bitcoin, please. All right, I left him the message here. It's been received, although he might not get it until he grows up and rewatches this. Did you finish the Legos? I did, and then it was just destroyed. Okay, it was like nothing lasts made of Legos here. If you're making ramen at home, what do you put it in? Also, is it from scratch or packaged? It's like packaged, but you can get. Actually, they have fresh. Kanai. 多分危ないと思います。ちょっと多分食べたら困るかもしれない。Maybe if he puts something in his mouth, I would not be happy. But we kind of removed as many dangerous things from the floor as we could have. That's why Totoro is there to check out what's behind me. Hope you will enjoy the cold one. Sophia, I will. Thank you. I will. Tonight's dinner. And Brandania's in the house. Thank you. We'll put that towards. You know what? I'm going to film at the Skytree tomorrow. So I will get something and bring it back and we'll enjoy it for dinner. I appreciate that very much. We do put... When you ask me to buy flowers and buy food, I do that. I do that. I do that. What's your recommending for Japan instant noodles? You can go to the supermarket here and you can get fresh noodles. So it's not instant freeze-dried noodles. You can get fresh noodles. But the broth, that's very hard to make. So at the supermarket, you can buy the broth that's been packaged, but it's so much fresher than freeze-dried. It's not powder. It's like you mix it in water and you have the same thing, like roux. So you can eat pretty good ramen at home. We usually get that, but I haven't eaten instant ramen since indoor camping. So I don't eat it. It's just too salty. You can't control the sodium. So at ramen shops, you can sometimes control the sodium a little bit, but it's really. But how to apply PR in Japan? There's a it's easy to apply for permanent residency, Adrian. There's a form. Just follow the checklist. Japan is a country of rules. Follow the checklist. You'll be able to do it. You want to start a business in Japan? JETRO, the Japan Export Trade Organization, has a checklist. Follow the checklist. You can start a business. I did it in 2005. It was that easy. And I spoke way less Japanese in 2005. I went to JETRO. They actually helped me start my business. And I've had a Japanese business for a long time. Pretty cool. And it's good to start a business here in Japan if you're going to be staying here. Why is the hay fever currently so bad here? I don't know where you are, Richard, but here in Japan, after World War II, they planted a lot of the wrong trees out in the west of Tokyo. And those trees became mature. It's 50, 60, 70 years ago. So those trees are now 70 years old that they planted after World War II for the reconstruction of Tokyo after all the fire bombings. This city was flattened. So those trees got mature, and now the cedar trees shoot all that pollen towards Tokyo. It is one of the worst in the world for pollen. I'm not kidding. I have hay fever, and I never have it at home in the United States, but maybe it's because I'm getting older. But that's another reason why people wear masks here. Your eyes hurt. There's also butakusa. There's other vegetation all around Japan, the Tokyo, that make it really like the worst for hay fever. So people not suffering might have hay fever suffering here that they wouldn't outside. But a lot of it, there is history and politicians. This is interesting. Ishihara, who recently passed away, he was a long-term governor of Tokyo. One of the promises he made every election was that he wanted to see what he could do to cut down those trees in West Japan to ease the hay fever, and people bought into that and reelected him based on that. I believe it also comes up in every election too. But they can't down those trees because it's so expensive to cut them down and make them timber that it's cheaper to import them from other countries. That's why we have all that cedar tree out in West Tokyo. It's just not financially viable, so all those companies have gone out of business. Even if you had them on the market here, nobody would buy it. Not even the government. They buy it from, Thailand or Vietnam. It's a true story. So the logging industry is just a niche luxury thing, made in Japan trees. Yeah, my wife hates cedars trees. Nobody likes them. Because of the pollen, but if you make a nice smelling something out of it, it's not too bad, I guess. Because if you made something out of it, that means you cut it down. But I'm against cutting down trees, so it's a hard dilemma for me. I guess I don't have any allergies. I feel awful for everyone who has them. The longer you stay in Japan, this pollen will wear you down. It also is, I think, if you get older, your immune system breaks down a little bit. Maybe, I don't know. I never had it when I first moved to Tokyo in 2004. Let's see here. All right, one last question. Planning a Christmas trip to New York. We don't know yet, but we might be there for summer. I don't know yet. We're sort of playing it by ear. Because like you, our trip depends on what the government says, because we want to be able to come back. I don't want to be trapped. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think I'm going to get trapped. I'm in a good situation as a resident here, so it's not like I need to worry too much. But probably we go back in the summer, and we'll see what happens in Christmas. Maybe we go back in Christmas as well. I bet you, go to travel returns, there's going to be like a horde of people, so I want to maybe avoid that. We have had a lot of earthquakes recently. The one video that I had was on I put it on Twitter, and it had one. Hold on a second. How many? I just started using Twitter. It's not a lot. And I put a video of my studio here that I am shaking, and almost every world media put this on their evening news, including CBS and NBC. I believe I was in most of the networks. I think. Oh, here it is. 1.1 million views. I don't know if you could see that. That's my Twitter right there. 1.1 million views. And every media contacted me. Can we use this? I said, Go ahead. Sure. I don't never ask for money. They won't use it. Just give it to them and they'll put it on right away. And maybe you get I think I got 1,000 new Twitter followers from it. But yeah, just let them have it. It doesn't really has no value to me. But it was interesting to like I was working there, so I had everything set up. And when I got the P waves, I just started recording. But we do get earthquakes, and recently we've had more. There was one that was an epicenter right underneath Chiba, which is a good thing. When you have small and medium-sized earthquakes, this prevents super large earthquakes from happening, I believe, because then it doesn't snap. Like the pressure doesn't build up. You need to release that pressure. So when we have magnitude 4 or 5 earthquakes, that's a good thing to me, in my experience living here. So experiencing one is really scary. Check out the video that I made on this if you haven't already. This will help you kind of get an understanding what you should do in case of an emergency. Some of the things that even Japanese don't do on the main channel. And by the way, I do have a second channel. Okay, the main channel is right here. This is the main channel. It's youtube.com/John Daub, JOHNDAUB, and this channel is doing pretty good. The last video is how Japanese Wagyu beef is graded. It's pretty incredible episode. I take you in special access to show you how that marbling is decided by going into the processing plant. So you might want to check that out. I don't think any other YouTuber has been able to make an episode like that quite in the same way. But the channel's doing pretty good. 164,000 subscribers. And it's growing. And just keep putting out content and it'll grow. 2 a month, 3 a month. I appreciate the support, guys. You guys, the channel is always for you. The final thing I want to say is that I'm going to Hokkaido next week on this channel. You're coming with me. Only in Japan Go. We go together. So you're going to see Eastern Hokkaido, meaning Kushiro, Nemuro. These are the islands. Nemuro is next to the Kuril Islands. In fact, I can see Russia from where I'm going. So this is going to be kind of interesting live stream, talking about those contested islands a little bit. You're going to be coming with me to see from the easternmost point of Japan. Can we see Russia? And what do people think about that? So you're going to want to subscribe, get the notifications. It's pretty interesting. Not a lot of people go out to Kushiro and Nemuro. And I've been there once before. I'm pretty excited to go, like a long time ago. I'm pretty excited to go there and film a main channel episode. But you'll see me next week, April 11th, 12th, and 13th. I'll be there. I'm also going to see a friend of mine who's a yurukara, who is very not nice to me, but it's gonna be really funny. I'm serious. He has his own house, this yurikura's house, so I'm gonna stop by on the way to Nemuro, and I'm flying domestic, so I'll probably do a Haneda Airport live stream and show you the situation for domestic flights. That'll give you a better look and see how Japanese domestic travel is going, because then once you get here, you're gonna get an idea of how travel is gonna be for you here too. Tokyo Paul Live, thank you. I appreciate that. Andy, thank you for the great info. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I can go out to the eastern Hokkaido. It's actually very expensive. It's going to cost me about $1,000 for the whole trip, but I can do that because of the support that we get here and on Patreon. So I'm not making a lot of money through the new channel. I really do appreciate that. If you do want a postcard, next month is what was the last month here? Like, I can show it to you. Like, I have a postcard club here. This is Dotonbori from a couple of months ago. I had the snow monkeys of Nagano, some of the castles. The postcard club is probably the main way that I finance producing a travel show, and I appreciate all of that very much. This show is really brought to you by you, and I like that. I don't put in Squarespace and all these other sponsored ads in there. So I don't need to do that because we have an awesome community. All right. If you have any questions, you can leave me a comment. Hashtag #AskOnlyInJapan on Twitter. Follow me there if you haven't already. Discord, we have a very robust community talking about travel on Discord. Our moderators will put another link there. If you haven't joined our Discord, please do. We have a community where we're talking about that. We have moderators and some good people that are in Japan and can give you, if it's not me answering, people in Japan will be able to give you some feedback. So you have up to date from people here. And who knows, it's a good place where you could possibly make some friends. And when you come to travel here, I've had people get married that met, I'm serious, people got married from live streaming from the community that we have, the Only in Japan community. And that is like, use the community, because we have one of the best, I believe, on YouTube in Japan, where everybody is maybe a little bit older than some of the other YouTubers, because I'm older, a little bit wiser, different stages in their lives maybe, but really, really good, down-to-earth people. And I appreciate all the stories that you also share when you meet up yourselves. Angel Forever 59, thank you. Michael Sassano's here. Thank you for so much of the travel updates. Always informative. Thank you, Michael. Tig is here. Travel help. Please keep asking about the postcards. Thank you, Tig. Jennifer French is in the house. You're very welcome, Jennifer and Nicholas. Buffman, thank you so much, Nicholas. It's a little bit slow, a little bit small on my screen here. Lucky Cat Adventures, thanks for all of these super chats coming in at the last minute. I appreciate it very much, guys. Yeah, and tomorrow I'll be at the Sky Tree, and we'll probably do a live stream in that area. I've got access to film inside the Sky Tree, a secret area of the Sky Tree that is going to knock your socks off. I've been working on this for like 2 months to get this access, and I'm pretty excited about it. So that's taking place tomorrow. The main channel is going to be awesome because we have so many behind-the-scenes look at things that nobody really shows you. Not as a tourist, but if you were a tourist, you would want to see this. So that's the kind of stuff I'm producing and why people should subscribe, right? Tell them, Jennifer, why people should subscribe, right? Thanks, Joy, for sharing the Discord link. See everybody, and I'll be back. Another live stream tomorrow, Peter on Thursday, and a new episode coming very soon next week, Hokkaido. Bye-bye.